Hi, I'm Ian Parker. I'm the sales coach and director of Ian Parker International, and I'm about to join the online prosperity show. And if you enjoy the next 45 minutes, have your pen ready. We're going to give you so many gold nuggets that's going to turn your life around in sales.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today we've got a special treat for you. Now, joining me is Ian Parker, a man who's turned the art of sales into a virtual science. Now, Ian, how are you doing today?
Fantastic, Prosper, and thank you for the introduction, and thanks for having me on your podcast. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. I've been looking at your stuff and what it is that you do, and I think I actually have an earworm now. Ian, the "Who Cares" jingle that you play in Orange is already stuck in my head. I'm hoping we'll get rid of it by the time we finish this conversation today. Now, like I said, on the Online Prosperity Show, we bring you the insights and strategies that can help you build a profitable and enjoyable business. And today with Ian Parker, who, like I said, has turned the art of sales into a science. So he actually started off as a paperboy at 10 to now owning award-winning car dealerships and also revolutionizing online sales training with his online platform. So his journey is nothing short of extraordinary, and we're going to be exploring all of that today so that you can literally create a business that's profitable and enjoyable. Now, Ian, you've blended 45 years of experience, and you've built a unique interactive platform that has video templates and accountability that actually ensures the success of your clients. Tell us how it all came together.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so basically, with the platform, we sold our last dealership that we owned in Griffith in 2015. And we moved, for lifestyle reasons, we moved from Griffith to the Gold Coast. Now, I love Griffith. I love the red wine. I love the mafia and the marijuana down there, but I didn't want to die there. So we moved on up here to the Gold Coast. But it's a great town. It's a fantastic town. So when we moved up here, we wanted to get into, I wanted to get into sales training. It was a passion of mine. The dealership that we bought in Griffith, we took it from receivership into a very highly and profitable business when we sold it just on 5 years later. The thing with the sales training, when we started doing it, I found that I couldn't be in 10 places at once. So I wanted to explore online training. I didn't know much about online training at that stage. This was in 2015. So we bought a license in an online training platform, which we used for a couple of years to get my head around online training. But what I found with the content, and we put a bit of our content with it, but it just didn't work right. And I needed to have accountability, because you can say to people, if you don't have accountability with online training, you may as well send the people to YouTube and they watch a video. You hope they watch it. If they don't watch it, you'll never know. So we wanted to have something with accountability. So I'm far from being a tech head. My wife's the tech head and does all the that side of it. So she teamed up with some developers. I sort of barked orders on my end of what I wanted, and they built together this platform. And there was a couple of times throughout the whole thing that they told me they couldn't do this or couldn't do that. And I reminded them in 1969 we put a man on the moon. So I'm sure in 2018 we can do anything. So anyway, we built this interactive online training platform, which is just amazing with what it can do today. And so that's how we did it. We spent about 12 months building the platform, which we actually had finished just before COVID hit. So I must have had a crystal ball. And then we spent about, the best part of 12 months in a studio shooting content. And interesting enough, it's the writing of the content. You write all the content, but, sitting in front of studios, then recording it and doing all that. So that's what we did. We've probably got the best part of, I'm not sure, maybe 4,500, 5,000 minutes of video on our platform, and covers all aspects of sales and trainer for the sales managers that want to train their people.
Absolutely. And congratulations. I mean, obviously, we're going to be diving deep into what this platform does and it entails, but you have such a rich history in sales. I mean, you started off as a paperboy and you then got on to own this award-winning dealerships. What sparked your passion into sales and what led you into this field?
Look, I came from a family that there was a lot of love in it, and but there wasn't much money. All right, so that's how it was back in my days. Like my parents, provided a lot of love and done everything they could. I wanted to make sure that I never, I wanted to have everything that I didn't have or they didn't have, and I wanted to make sure, that if I could, I could help them and do all those sorts of things. So I was inspired. Look, I'm not an academic, right? I was booted out of school in fourth form, and the principal at that time, when he escorted me home and said to my mother, who was a very devout Catholic, and she's still here at 90, and she said to me, the principal said to my mother, I remember these words. He said, he's your son, and we don't want him back for fifth form. He's not our problem anymore. Anyway, my mother grabbed me by the ear, and in those days, when your mother said jump, you said how high. These days, if you say to a kid jump, they normally do other things to you. But anyway, my mother told me that if I didn't have a job at the time school went back, that I was going back to fifth form. Anyway, I said, I'm not going back. And she said, well, that's your choice. And I knew I had no choice, because if I didn't have a job, she was going to make me go back. So anyway, come January, because I was pretty cool and laid back and didn't care. Um, Come January, she said, "Well, school's just about time to go and get fitted out for a uniform. Where's your job?" I said, "Well, I haven't got it, but I'm working on it." I had done nothing. Like, I hadn't cared about getting a job. It wasn't, I didn't care. Anyway, said, "Well, I'm telling you, if you haven't got a job by the end of the week, you're going down to get your uniform. You're going back to school." So I put an ad in the paper that I was looking for work. Anyway, I got a phone call from a major supermarket chain that rang up and said, "Oh, you're going to have the paper, you're looking for work. We're looking for someone to cut cabbages and peel potatoes and cut pumpkins." I said, "I'm the most qualified person you've ever met. Is the job full time?" And they said, "It is. Come down for an interview." Anyway, I went down. Lo and behold, I got the job. And anyway, I started there. So as a trainee in the fruit and veg department at a major supermarket chain. And over 18 months, I worked my way up to a relieving manager. And then by the time I was about just under 19, I had my own store with 20 odd people working underneath me. And my own department and that. So, but it was all about driving hard. I'd rather work hard. I'm not, as I said, I'm not academic. I'm very streetwise and street smart. And anyway, and that's how I started. So I did that, and then went to for 3 or 4 years running this store, and we had some phenomenal sales and things that they all blew out. I was working on becoming a supervisor, working my way up with this store. Things changed, and I moved back to Orange, and I applied for a job actually in a real estate agency, and they told me I didn't have any experience and I probably would never cut it as a salesperson. So that's okay. You've got to take the knocks. And I then applied for a job at a car dealership as a trainee salesperson. They rang me up, and after I went to the interview, and said, "Look, you've got the job. Your second choice, the bloke we want to give it to, who's fully qualified, he's decided to do something else. So if you want the job, you can have it." So that was it. Went into a car dealership to start selling cars, and I got fully trained. They said, "Here's your desk. Here's the phone. We want 10 cars a month. See you later." That was my training, and that's how I kicked off in the car industry. And in my first month, I sold my 10 cars. So we moved on from there.
Absolutely. Congratulations. I mean, there's a lot of resilience that is packed into this answer. You know what I mean? Obviously, being escorted by the principal to be sent home, that obviously has a lot of shame, guilt, and embarrassment all put together. How did you deal with that rejection at an early age?
Look, I had big shoulders. When I was a paper boy and I was walking around pubs at 10, 11 years of age selling papers, and you're dealing with some drunks at 6 o'clock on a Friday night, you were pretty tough skinned when they that sort of thing. So look, that was just the way it was. I made my bed and I had to lie in it. Some funny things was that later on in life, when I started my own dealerships in 1989, and then took on franchises, we were very, very successful. I went to a few functions in Orange, and there was some teachers that were there at this function, that were guests at this function as well. Anyway, at this function, this person said to me, "Oh, Ian, have you met so and so?" And I said, "Yeah, I know so and so." And the teacher turned around and said, "Yeah, he was one of my students at school." Well, I knew that, anyway. And she said, "Oh, and I always knew he'd make something of himself." I'm thinking, you were the one that was trying to get me expelled all the time. But anyway, that's how it was. That's how it is. But anyway, that's how it was. You can do anything you want if you work hard for it. You believe in yourself, and you take the kicks. The kicks don't last forever if you just have a good positive attitude that you want to get up off your backside and get going again.
Absolutely. And I mean, obviously, congratulations for having done that by yourself. But you did mention there was a lot of learning that needed to happen, especially when they gave you that desk and then they said, bring in 10 cars a month. Obviously, that didn't happen by itself. What does somebody who ends up selling 10 cars need to learn from cutting vegetables?
Well, look, today, the beauty is today, you've got the internet, so you can go on Google. There's so many sales trainers out there, and you can take all their bits and pieces from them. Back when I started in 1983, they didn't have any of that sort of thing. So I had to do some research and find some things. I found a couple of tapes, and I can't think of what the gentleman's name was. He was an Australian guy that had these couple of tapes on sales and things. Very dry to listen to, but I got a lot of good things out of him. And then there was a guy who's huge in the US, and I've met him a few times, Grant Cardone, and he was just starting off, and I used to follow his stuff, and Grant can be very Americanized, so you just take the Americanism out of it and you put it into Aussiefy it, and so he was a guy that I listened to a lot and took a lot of things off and adapted it to my style of selling, and that's what we did. There was no training like what I've put together. Even when I had Griffith, when I bought Griffith in 2010, I would have done anything to have this online training that we rolled out into dealerships and into other businesses today, because it's just a game changer, and it saves time for the business owner and the managers of trying to find content, because it's all done for them.
Absolutely. And I quite like that. Obviously, there's a path that you followed, and then there was people that you sort of measured yourself against or learned from. How important is mentorship, especially when it comes to a sales process and having people that become that sort of reference point for you in order for you to be successful in this field?
Look, it's really important, and you've got to have people that you look up to, some people that you can contact and bounce ideas off, some people that you just read their books or just follow them. And these days you follow them on social media, you can follow their podcasts or things like that. And even today, at where I am, I still follow people. I jump on, not as often as I should because of just time commitments and things, but there's different people I jump on and do an hour. They have like people come together and they run different training sessions, and that I'm always learning to pick up ideas that I can take and give to my people that are on my programs, and that I coach and things, because we all learn from different people, and you never stop growing, you never stop learning. So and it's if I listen to someone for an hour and I get one or two things out of that I can take and help my people with, then that hour's been well worth spent. I don't measure, these days, I don't measure my success by the dollars and the amount of sales that I do. I look at measuring my success by the referrals and the feedback I get from my clients that have grown and have moved from one step to another with what they've been able to take and put into place with what I've showed them. And that to me is a bigger win than the money that they pay me to do the job for them.
Absolutely, because the referral is a compliment to say, you actually had the best care for them,
Yeah.
and and things of that nature. Now you've gone from managing a dealership to now coaching salespeople. Obviously, you've worn many hats along the process, but like you say, you have kept on learning. Whereas so many people would have continued with school, kept learning, but then they stop,
Yeah.
when it comes to actually, moving on with the career. What are some of the unexpected sort of lessons that you've now sort of carried from your time in the auto industry to now your training programs that you're teaching others today?
Look, the biggest thing is attitude, right? You've got to have a real positive can-do attitude. But the other thing is it is consistency. And I say to people all the time, like, for example, whether you support the AFL or the NRL, but the Brisbane Lions just won the AFL, and the Penrith Panthers just won the NRL. Now, do you think those guys, they're probably having, a couple of weeks off at the moment? We understand all that. But do you think by November the 1st, when all the other teams are going back to training, ready to start the season next year, do you think those two teams are going to sit back and wait, we won it this year, we'll just sit back and we'll just come out on the 1st of March and we'll start playing again? There's no way in the world they're going to do that. They're back there because they want to be bigger and better than what they were this year. And all I say to people, if you just spend 10, 15 minutes a day doing some training with, role playing and practicing and learning your sales and crafting your sales, your soft selling skills and your sales techniques. If you do 15 minutes a day, that's the best part of an hour a week. And it's all the little bits, that you do. If you do it for 1 week and then you give it up, that doesn't mean you're going to be great. You've got to do it every single day. It's like getting up, brushing your teeth, the things you do every day. You got to, and sales is the same. If you want to be great at sales, you got to do a little bit every day and better yourself than you were yesterday.
Absolutely. And I think that ties into your mantra I saw on your website that says always be your best. But you would understand and appreciate that sales comes with a lot of rejection. And that's why so many people
Hmm?
don't last in this field and things of that nature. How do you maybe encourage others to keep the energy alive, especially during challenging times?
Okay, let me give you an example. So let's say that you're out prospecting, right? And let's say your manager gives you a list of, say, 15 names and says, hey, Prosper, I want you to ring these 15 names. Now, if you pick the phone up and you get a no, a no, a no, a no, and after about 5 no's, you're going, you know what? This is too hard. I'm just going to go to the bathroom. So you leave the piece of paper on your desk, hoping that the wind comes through and blows it away. You go to the bathroom. On your way back, you think, I might get a coffee. Then on your way back, you might see someone that you don't really like, but you're going to stop and talk to them because you don't want to go back to the phone because that's worse, right? So what I say to people is this. If you get 15 names from your manager and you've got to make those calls, I want you to think about, say, okay, I'm going to call until I get, if I had 15 names, I'd say, I'm going to call until I get 10 no's. When I get 10 no's, I'm going to stop for the day. So when I pick the phone up and I call the first person, they go, no, I go, yep, beauty. 9 more no's and I can stop this for the day. And then I make another call and they go, no, I'm going, yes. So I'm really positive about no. So when someone goes yes, rather than me go, oh, you're interested, I go, oh, yeah, that's fine. Okay, how can I help you? Because I'm pumped. I'm hoping for a no, but I got a yes, so that's as good. And at the end of it, you go into your manager and say, manager, I made here are those 15 calls, these 15 people you gave me. I rang until I got 10 no's. And the manager says, well, how many calls did you make? I made 13 calls. What happened to the other 3? I got 3 appointments out of it. I got 3 leads out of it. And you're pumped about doing it. But it's just the reverse psychology, and it's how you think about things and how you break things down. So, if people are out there are doing prospecting, set yourself whatever that number is in front of you. If it's 15 numbers, say, okay, I'm going to call till I get X amount of no's. When I get X amount of no's, I'm going to stop. Now, if that means that out of that 15, and you got 10 no's and you got 3 appointments, carry those other 2 across until tomorrow. And then tomorrow you work your way through it again. But if you do that, it just keeps you positive every time you're on the phone.
You know what I'm hearing here, Ian? Obviously, this is very good advice because so many people they just start the staircase from the step that they're at, not knowing where it is they're actually going. So, to
Yeah,
give you an example, when you're driving somewhere else, the address that you put is not the address of where you are; it's the address of where you're going, and
yeah,
then the GPS will tell you this is going to be a 45-minute drive. So at 15 minutes, you're not going to start complaining and saying, oh my God, when is this journey going to end? Because you know it's supposed to be 45 minutes. So, based on what you're saying, if you already know you're supposed to make those 15 calls and then you tell yourself at call number 10, I could stop. You are definitely not going to stop at call number 5 because you've already set the intention and the expectation so much
yeah,
that it makes it easy for you, and that now puts you in. Wow, I like that.
yeah. You made a commitment to yourself that if I get to 10 no's, I can stop. The
Mhm.
other thing that I say to people is this, right, that we coach. The other thing is that wherever morning, I'm a firm believer of organising your day the night before. So if you've got a paper diary, electronic diary, it doesn't matter to me, right? I'm an old-fashioned paper diary person. But every night before I leave the office, I update my diary for what I've got on tomorrow. Now, sometimes that can go pear-shaped because things happen in this world. I understand that. But when you come back to your desk after things have gone a bit pear-shaped, you look over at your diary and you go, okay, this is what I got doing next. So what I do, I have my diary updated from the night before, and I've got a video on my YouTube channel of how to set up a paper diary effectively. People can go there and have a look at it. But the other thing I do is then on my phone, 10 minutes before every video call like yours and the other ones I've got on for the rest of the day, my alarm on my phone goes off. So when it goes off, I look straight at my diary and go, oh, okay, I got an appointment with Prosper. Or, okay, I got an appointment with so-and-so because it's all set up. But the other thing is it creates time in your day. So the next morning when you come in, you know exactly where you're at. Then that takes to the next bit. I tell people that when you've got your day on the next day, have a look at your diary and the things that are the biggest pains in the backside, the things that you hate doing for the day, do them first. Then keep the things that you love doing and do them last. Because then when you finish the day on a positive, because you do the things while you've got the most energy first thing in the morning that you don't like doing, get them out of your life. Then you finish doing the things that you love doing at the end of the day. People go, how was your day, Ian? I go, my day was fantastic because the last few hours I've been doing things that I enjoy and I love doing. So of course my day's been great. I forget about the things that happened earlier in the day.
I think it was Brian Tracy that mentioned eat that frog first. Is that exactly what it is? You do the hard things first,
Yep.
and obviously you sort of then reward yourself
Yep.
with the easy things. So that's the reason why we eat dessert last after
Yeah.
having eaten our vegetables. Absolutely. But there's one thing that happens, Ian. Normally, when people are in a sales role, they usually, obviously, are geared for the opening, because that's one thing that they get to practice a lot. But they seldom train themselves to maybe go to the next stage and maybe build rapport with the person once that
Yeah.
person has said yes. I mean, building strong relationships is something that you also train people, and it's a cornerstone of some of the trainings that I've seen that you're putting out there. What's sort of like your go-to strategy for helping clients sort of establish rapport with their potential customers, especially in a market where everybody's very, selfish, or what do you
Yeah.
call it? Look at me type
Yeah.
setup.
No, no, great point. So, great question. So, the first thing is I say to salespeople, we'll just go back one step. When you're selling, the first thing you sell is yourself. Okay. The second thing you sell is your business. And the third thing is the product will sell itself. Okay. Because if the people know, like, and trust you, and you build trust and rapport with them, your product might be 9 out of 10, and the opposition product might be 10 out of 10, but the opposition salesperson didn't build trust and rapport with them, they don't feel as comfortable with them as they feel with you, the chances are that they'll do business with you. So it's all, and so then the next question is, how do I build so much trust and rapport with the client? How do I get the client to know, like, and trust me? Well, first of all, you make a promise and you keep it. That's the first thing. So if you say, hey, Prosper, I'll call you at 10 o'clock in the morning, you make sure you call Prosper at 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, if you don't have the answer for Prosper that he wants, you still call him at 10 o'clock and say, hey, Prosper, I'm still working on that answer. I thought I'd just let you know I haven't forgotten you, and I will call you again at 2 o'clock or whatever you decide. The other thing is, it's about the questions you ask. It's about walking in the customer's shoes and about understanding the customer's needs. So you've got to ask the right questions. So things like, getting to understand them, talk about them, find out all about them, find out what their needs are, what their wants are, and to make sure that your product or your service will fit their needs and is going to help them. Because if it's not going to help them, it's not going to matter what you try and sell them unless you give it away. That's probably still not going to be a benefit to them. So you've got to make sure. And if you've asked all the right questions, you understand your customer. When you talk about features of your product or features of your service, you tag a benefit to the customer or what that's going to do for them. All right, not the benefit that it does for you or not the benefit that you just think it's going to do. You've got to make sure you understand your customer so you can tag a benefit to the feature that you're telling them about.
Now, Ian, this is amazing because when somebody feels heard, they will obviously would want to engage a lot more and even eventually make a purchase. All right, but I don't know how you feel about this. I kind of feel like selling has changed. Like you now going onto the online space, everybody's doing a lot of research prior. All they now just need is the salesperson to maybe just at least help them not make the wrong decision. All right. It's just that sort of validation that somebody then wants, especially when it comes to a car. People would have researched and people would have maybe done all their prior research. All they just need is somebody to then say they've made the sort of right decision. Now, your journey spans for decades from the time where the salesperson was the sole source of information. Have the fundamentals of selling evolved, or is everything still the same?
Look, basically, it's still pretty much the same, right? Now, in the auto industry, they talk about a road to a sale, right? And I just had a meeting this morning with a automotive group, and they were saying, "Oh, we just got our people right with the right road to a sale." But I said to them, the road to a sale today is the basics are there, but it's different to what it was 30 years ago. Because 30 years ago, when you walked into a business, whether it be a dealership or a business, they walked in to see the information giver, which was the salesperson, because they couldn't find that information out on the internet. Today, the customer, when they walk into your business or your dealership, it doesn't matter, they have as much information or more information than you do. So your job is to ask the right questions and find out what their dominant buying motives are and what brought them into your business. Now, their dominant buying motives is then what you tailor your sales around when you're showing them the vehicle or showing them the product, and you tailor your sales presentation around their dominant buying motive. Now, they might, let's say, for example, let's use a car, for example, right? So they might have come in and say, I want the vehicle's got to be able to tow, it's got to have comfort, it's got to have power, okay? Now, this vehicle that suits them might have all these fantastic safety features. Now, you talk to them and say, oh, so is safety important to you? Yeah, it is, but it's got to have comfort, power, and towing ability. So what are their three dominant buying motives? It's not safety. It's there, but it's not one of their dominant buying motives, right? So rather than you give the 110 great features of the safety features of this vehicle, that's not what the customer wants. So you tailor your sales presentation around what they want. Now, you might cover on safety as you're going through the presentation. I'm not saying you wouldn't. But they want to know about comfort, power, and towing, then that's what the sales presentation's tailored all around.
So from what I'm understanding, Ian, you're saying salespeople should start selling the future the customer wants, not necessarily the features that are presented to them in front of them.
What the salespeople need to do is listen to understand, not to respond. Okay? So what I mean by that is this, right? And my wife hates me when I do this, right? And I don't do it that often, but so I go to a restaurant, right? and we finish our meal, and you walk up to pay the cashier, and the cashier says, "Oh, so you're happy with your meal?" And I'll go, "No," just like that. And she goes, "Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed it." And then she goes, "Oh, sorry, you weren't happy." So no, I was just seeing if you were listening, because she listened to respond, not to understand what I said, right? Because were you happy with the meal? I just went, no. But she expects everyone to go, "Oh, yeah, it was great," or "yes," or whatever. And because, she should have said, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." But they don't. 9 times out of 10, they go, I'm glad you enjoyed it." Then they think, "Oh, hang on a minute. No, he didn't say yes." So that's why I say you got to listen to understand, not to respond. Salespeople need to listen to their customers. Salespeople have all these questions loaded in their gun. They're ready to fire them, bang, 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 bang at the customer. But that's because they want to try and sell the car, or the salespeople want to sell the product. I say to salespeople, we know all salespeople get paid commission, right? And we know there's an old adage in sales, it's the ABC of selling, which is always be closing. Drop the word closing and think about always be caring. If you're caring for your customer, the commissions will follow. And I say to my people, the big C in sales is not commission. The big C is caring. And if you're caring, the commissions come, because the customer goes, "This person is making this all about me." And they respond to that, because now we've got a relationship. Now we've got rapport and we've got trust.
Wow, this really completely changes it all because, like you said, your boss left you on a table and said, "I need 10 cars at the end of the month." So the whole thing that will be happening to you is, I need to satisfy my boss with those 10 cars. Otherwise, I don't have a job to come back to next month. But your training actually includes, first of all, that listening, focus on follow-ups, and actually, handling those objections, because you've listened and now you've put in caring, in the works. Which of these areas do you find that either salespeople or businesses struggle with the most? And is there anything that they're doing with it?
Good question. So building trust and rapport, a lot can do that okay, all right, to a degree, all right. One of the biggest areas where businesses, whether it be dealerships or businesses in salespeople, where they struggle is in follow-up. And most of them, when I talk about follow-up, most of them, first of all, they don't follow up. Most businesses don't follow up, right? And their first excuse for not following up when I've gone into businesses is, "I don't have time." Oh, okay, you don't have time. Do you prospect? Yeah, I do. So you got time to prospect, go and find all these cold leads, but you don't have time to follow up the warm leads. Now, when you delve a bit deeper into that, the reason they don't follow up the warm leads is because they feel like they're hassling the customer. Well, you're not hassling the customer. The customer wants to buy from you. They came to see you. You spent time to build a quote with them. You spent time with them, build trust and rapport with them. Why wouldn't you keep working on that? But the thing with these, I'll give a couple of gold nuggets to your listeners right now. First thing is, when your customers come in and you meet and greet them and you get their contact details and everything else, first thing I want you to ask them is, and you've got their probably their mobile number, their work number, their email address, and everything else. Prosper, what is your preferred form of contact when I have to contact you after this meeting today? Would you prefer me to contact you via phone, via text, via email? How would you prefer me to contact you? And then Prosper might say, "Ian, look, I would rather a phone call." Okay, that's fine. Prosper, my next question is, because I'm all about asking one more question. Prosper, my next question is, what is your preferred time of the day you would rather me follow you up? And Prosper says at 6 o'clock. So do you think that if I call Prosper at 6 o'clock of the night, what do you think the chances are of him taking my phone call? Pretty high, right? Most salespeople, they don't ask that question. And what happens is when they ring Prosper, who's working, 8 till 5 at a supermarket packing shelves, and Prosper doesn't take his phone call, they think Prosper's slack, and they call Prosper all these names because he doesn't take my call. But it's not Prosper's fault. You didn't ask the questions. You didn't say, "Prosper, when does it suit you?" You walk in your customer's shoes and you'll get it. You care for your customer and you'll get the answer. So that's what we talk about. Now, the other thing is with follow-up, And a lot of sales trainers out there, and everyone does their own thing, right? It's whatever works for everyone else. I'm not here to say one thing or the other. But the thing is, 30 years ago, when I used to ring Prosper, right, I had two phone lines to ring him on, either the landline or the work line. So if I ring him at work, where's Prosper? And if he picks the phone up, he's at work. Okay. If I ring him on the home line and he picked the phone up, I know he's at home. Today, everyone's got a mobile. So they could be anywhere when I call them. So you need to find out when it suits them and when it works. Now, so with that, when you call them, you've got to ask them, have I got you at a good time? Now, most sales trainers won't tell their people to do that because they don't know how to handle that. Well, and they tell their salespeople, just say, hey, Prosper, it's Ian here, and I'm ringing to talk to you about this, and this. Now, Prosper could be as busy as anything.
We could be on a call like this.
That's right. And that, by me ramming straight into that, I have no interest in Prosper. What am I thinking about? I'm thinking about the Big C commission. I'm not thinking about the Big C care. So, but if I go, hey, Prosper, it's Ian here. Have I got you at a good time? And Prosper says, no, Ian, I'm about to jump onto a video recording. Fantastic, Prosper. When's a good time to call you back, this afternoon or in the morning? Prosper says, this afternoon. Fantastic, Prosper. 3:30 or 4:30. What works better for you? Prosper says 4:30. Fantastic, Prosper. Have a great video recording. I'll see you at 4:30. And I hang up, and I've got an appointment to call Prosper at 4:30. Now, this has all been recorded, so these people can listen to this over and they can master this, right? This is a great strategy. They then ring Prosper, and Prosper says, I say, hey, Prosper, it's Ian here. Have I got you at a good time? Prosper says, no, I'm about to walk into a meeting. Fantastic, Prosper. When is a good time for me to call you back? Prosper says, it's okay, Ian, I'll call you back. So with that, the salesperson goes, oh, okay, thank you, and hangs up. What does that do you? That doesn't help you. But so what the salesperson says is this: hey, Prosper, I fully appreciate you want to call me back. Just to make sure that I'm available to take your call, when should I expect that call back? Would that be this afternoon or in the morning? Prosper says, oh, it'll be in the morning, Ian. Fantastic, Prosper. Just to make sure that I'm available to take your call, because I'm making out that I'm very busy, but I'm also making out to you your call's important to me. When should I expect your call? Would that be 9:30 or 10:30, Prosper? No, Ian, it'll be 10:30. Fantastic, Prosper. Hey, Prosper, one more question. If I haven't heard from you by 11 o'clock, is it okay for me to call you? Prosper says, yes, it is. So what have I got? I've now got Prosper's permission, if he doesn't call me, for me to call him. So when I ring Prosper at 11 o'clock, if he hasn't called me, hey, Prosper, it's Ian here. I'm calling you as you asked me to.
Because now you've added a layer of accountability, because if Prosper doesn't then call you, he knows either way we're not avoiding that phone conversation, because so many people would give that sort of objection as, I don't know if you understand this concept, when you send somebody to go and look for a broomstick and you know that it's going to be a difficult thing for them to come back with, because not only are you going to be looking in the broom closet to, just looking for a broomstick, but you would just never find a broomstick by itself. So it's
100%.
Well,
that's like sending someone to get a long wait, isn't it?
Or what do they say? Like a left-hand hammer or things.
Screwdriver, yeah, that's right. So it's a matter of being in control. And all through that phone conversation, if you follow those steps, you are in control. You're making out to the customer they're very, very important to you, and that you appreciate their time is important, but you also need to know you're a very busy person, right? So it's the customer thinks, wow, Ian's very busy. He's making time aside to take my call at 10:30. I need to do it. And if you want to be really good at your job, then what you would do is you would have Ian's email address and you have his phone number. You would send Ian a calendar link for 10:30 for 15 minutes for that phone call, and that just locks it in. It blocks it out of his calendar, and he's in there.
Talk about that broomstick. You're now really clubbing him with it. Absolutely. No, obviously, Ian, you've helped so many businesses transform with this approach. I can only imagine, because so many things are left out in the open when people don't actually make accountability calls like this, or tell the customer exactly what the next logical step would be. What would you say is the most rewarding part of you seeing your clients succeed? Because this would definitely have a lot more calls booked than just being left out in the open.
Look, what the most rewarding thing is when they take what they've learned, they've adopted it and had success with it. That to me is rewarding. I had a text the other day from a client that's on my 24/7 coaching program, and he's got me as his private coach, right? So he's paid to have me as his private coach. He sends me a text, Ian, have you got 5 minutes to talk? And I go, yeah, I have, right? Anyway, he runs this scenario by me and tells me what the scenario is. He said, Ian, what do I do? So I gave him the strategy of what to do. The next day, I get a text from him, Ian, I've closed that deal and I followed everything you told me step by step, and everything, it was because of you, I've got that deal. Thank you very much. To me, that's what it is, and that's what it's about. And if you've got someone like that, I mean, he followed exactly what I told him to do. You listen to people that know what they're doing and you follow those things. They're the things that give me joy. I mean, I was over the moon because this guy got a sale, he got a reward, but he got himself out of his comfort zone because he had to challenge himself, to contact me in the first place and ask for help, and then he had to implement what I was telling him to do to get the result.
Fantastic. And where would people go to, Ian, so that they can actually get started on either the sales course or just to see the kind of work that you're doing and the results you're getting for others?
Look, two things they can do. They can go to my website, which is www.ianparkerinternational.com. And Prosper, if they go on there, I've actually got a 5-part free sales or complimentary sales power course, right? It costs you nothing, right? Jump on there, 5 8-minute videos on building trust and rapport, on negotiating, on follow-up, on closing. It's all on the website. You just go on and you get 1 8-minute video for the next 5 days, and they'll just drop into your basket. All you do is fill out the form and they do it. I won't spam you. I won't hassle you. I won't do anything. If you want to talk to me and I can help you, I'm there to help you. If you want some other free training on, Prosper, you've been to my YouTube channel. You've seen that there's a lot of sales clips on there. Go and help yourself and, knock yourself out with all that on there. Also on my website, there's a heap of free downloads, sales tips and managers tips and all those things. I've got a lot of handouts on my website. You can go and help yourself too.
Absolutely. I'll definitely put the links in the show notes for all the places that you've mentioned. I'm afraid to admit that I actually, watch some of your videos because you might just send me an invoice and then.
No, Prosper, what I'm a firm believer in? I'm a firm believer of the guy out front of the fish and chip shop that's handing out samples of calamari. If they like the calamari enough, they come into the fish and chip shop and they buy fish and chips. And with me, with my YouTube channel, all those free sales things and that, if you like it enough and you think I can help you, you contact me and we can work with you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Obviously, so many people hold on to, their information and keep it, to their chest. But then how are people going to know what it is that you can help them with and stuff like that? Yeah. So if you're hungry for some calamari, I will show you where to find them. I'll put the links in the show notes there. Now, Ian, when we started, you introduced us to I wouldn't say naughty, but you introduced us to a boy being escorted out of school and, starting off in a food chain supermarket. There are some people that are now starting to notice that school might not be their thing. And they obviously society will look at them, with large angry eyes and say you're wasting everybody's time and resources. What would you say to those young people that just kind of feel like school rubs them the wrong way, knowing what you know about who you've turned out to be and what you've done with yourself?
I give those people 6 words: believe in yourself and never give up. Okay, so that's all you've got to do. You just got to believe in yourself. Not everyone's cut from the same cloth. They're going to be academic. There's academic people out there. We need academic people in the world. There's no risk in the world about that. But not everyone's an academic. So you've got to accommodate for those people, and you've got the people that aren't academic think, oh, well, I can't be a doctor or a lawyer, or I can't be this and that. The world's made up of so many different people. You've got to believe in yourself, and whatever you want to do, you just got to say, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it. My goal was, I didn't know how far this online training program would go. I didn't know how far we'd get it. But, we've got clients in Australia. We've had clients in the US, clients in New Zealand, and it's real life stuff. So whatever you do, just believe in yourself. Believe I can do it, and I can make a difference with what I'm going to do. Now, you might start off down the bottom of the food chain, but you decide how far up you climb that food chain. That's your decision.
I quite like that. You started off peeling pumpkins and vegetables, and you ended up, in senior positions. And with what you're saying, those 6 words, believe in yourself and never give up. I think those are words that just really need to be said over and over again, because when I was growing up, Ian, we were told that no two fingers on the same hand are of the same height. And what that actually then got us to understand is we can't all be the same. We can't all be doctors, lawyers, or whatever society expects you in life, and things like that. So one of those things. And yeah, thank you so much for those words. Now, you also introduced us to your other skill set, which you haven't spoken about in this show. You've got a visionary, outlook to life, which is basically you saw something before the world saw it, and you transitioned your business online in 2019, just before the world went virtual. And obviously you were successful, and everybody else was busy coughing in their elbows, and you were busy filming stuff. What's next? What can we anticipate? What can you see right now that you can give us forewarning, so that we can also go into and start working on?
Uh, Look, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like sometimes in this world, you can just be in the right place at the right time. Okay. And whether you believe in upstairs or not, that's everyone else's, that's a topic for another day. But when they're shining down on you and you make some decisions, someone there is watching you and pushing you to make some decisions. And as I said, whether you believe in that or not, that's entirely up to you. I'm not here to preach one way or the other with that. But the online training had been out long before we put it together in 2018 or 19. What I didn't find out there was what we built, right? So I looked at all the Teachable, Kajabi's, all those online platforms, but none of them we could white label. So we can white label. We've got this training rolled out in businesses, and they've white labeled it as their own. So when they go and try and find salespeople, they advertise they've got their own online training platform. It's actually all our platform. It's white labeled to them, but they go out there and sell it. They pay us the royalty on it. So that's the thing but when we build everything, I made it simple and simplistic, because all due respect to salespeople, that's all I'm as a salesperson, is if it's not simple and easy to use, it becomes too hard, they won't do it. It's got to be entertaining. So they've got to be engaged, and they've got to, I got salespeople that they're doing our modules and they might have it for a week, and by Thursday they're finished and they send me an email, Ian, I can't wait for the next module. Can you open it up for me? Because we've got to be engaged in it. They just love it, and they're taking so much out of it. So they're the things you've got to do. You've got to, when you come up with something, you don't have to overcomplicate it. Just keep it simple and have it that the people want. And one of our other slogans is, yes, one of my slogans is always be your best. I say that my best you may be better than me, but if I'm the best I can be version of myself, then that's all I can be. But the other one is, we don't reinvent the wheel, we just realign the wheel. And that's something to think about. Like, we're not here to reinvent the wheel. So I'm not here to make sales training all new and all flash and everything else. The selling of anything hasn't changed in 50 years. The only thing that's changed is the internet. So we're not here to reinvent the wheel. We're just here to realign the wheel, put you back on track, and make you successful.
Interesting, interesting. And, so many people just try and come up with, I was the first to come up with that. But half of the stuff that we need to actually succeed has already been invented. So, as you say, just realign it to who you are and what it is that you're
Yeah.
capable of instead of trying to rejig it. You waste a lot of time, money, and
Yeah.
effort trying.
And possibly, you mentioned earlier about COVID and how things changed with COVID. When COVID was on, people didn't have to sell because people were just buying and buying and buying. The problem now that we're through the COVID eras and we're into the back into the real world today, people have forgot, salespeople out there, a lot of them have forgot the basics of selling. And you've got to get back to the basics. No point shortcutting and sugarcoating and things. You've got to get back to the basics if you want to be successful.
Absolutely. And here's just a funny one for, those in the car industry. Is it harder to sell a petrol engine than it is to sell an electric engine? Oh,
Uh, it's all the same because it depends on the customer's dominant buying motives. It depends what they want to buy, So if they want petrol, it's not hard to sell petrol. If they want electric, it's not hard to sell them electric.
fantastic.
So that really boils down to what the customer wants. If you listen to what they want and what they're going to do with it, because the other thing with electric engines they've got to think about is some customers might think they want electric. You don't ask enough questions. You sell them electric, and they realise they didn't really want the electric. They thought that was the fad at the moment. They should look at buying it. But there's a thing out there called range anxiety that they don't. You need to talk to your customer about. So you think, well, what's range anxiety? Range anxiety is that if you're driving from say, Brisbane to Sydney, and you've got to make a couple of stops on the way to charge your vehicle, how are you going to feel? Because with petrol, you can pull up at nearly every second kilometre, there's a fuel station. But with charge stations, they're not that close. So you've got to think about, am I going to get range anxiety? Or think, I'm running out of range, there's no way close. And, am I going to start getting like that? So there's a lot you got to think about.
Absolutely. Oh, Ian, I mean, we could go on and on. You see, you can't invite a salesperson to a show like this and expect, to. But what's next, Ian? Every time I get on a call with you or we have a chat, you seem to be somewhere in the world, just, enjoying life and doing stuff. What's next? What can we expect from Ian, the man?
It's pretty much the same. We've sort of, with what we've got with our training platform, we've developed it that now, with the do-it-yourself version. So you got the private coaching version from me, but we've also got a do-it-yourself version. We can roll it out into businesses and white label it, and we're tinkering with that. We've also added to that a train-the-trainer under every module. So, if a sales manager was doing a do-it-yourself version of our program and they thought, I'm really good at prospecting, but I'm really no good at follow-up, well, they're not going to train their people on follow-up. We've got a train the trainer video under every module, so under follow-up, and a step-by-step guide that if you watch the video and follow that step-by-step guide, you can go in and run a training session on follow-up, and the salespeople are going to go, man, this guy knows everything about everything with sales, because we have broken it down and given you everything. So we made it foolproof.
I like that. So don't be out there reinventing the wheel. Just realign with Ian
Yeah,
Parker's training, and guess what?
yeah, exactly.
It's
Exactly.
actually gonna work. Whoa. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode on the Online Prosperity Show. And a huge, huge thank you to my main man, Ian. I mean, I can't thank you enough for the time that we've spent, not on just this call, but all the other calls. I seem to be walking away having learned so much and just talking to you. So that's just, a nod to the wealth of information that you carry. And I don't think you realize that every, conversation with anyone is literally a book in and of itself. So thank you for all that you're doing, Ian.
No, Prosper, thank you. Look, thanks for having me. And I trust your audience get one or two gold nuggets out of what we went through today.
Oh, I think if this was a book, it would have all the dog ears and the coffee stains on it. People taking notes, revisiting it, and really looking at it. There are some definite gold nuggets in there. And if you're watching this right now and you're looking to level up your sales game, Ian's offering complimentary access to his 5-part sales training program. The details are going to be in the show notes, so do not miss that out. And if in any case, if you found this conversation as impactful as I did myself, just hit that subscribe button. And also, I encourage you to share this with your sales leader or your other sales people in your team. This would just help you guys work together as a team. It's not a competition, but you literally will be helping each other get the results that you want. And you can actually start boosting your sales strategies. And remember, you could always come back and watch this episode at any time. So thank you so much for tuning into the Online Prosperity Show. And until next time, keep building relationships, ask one more question, and as Ian would say, always be your best. Bye for now.